Hey, are you looking for a podcast where you can hear from some great hockey legends, listen to the tell us of great stories, find out what they're up to today? Well, this is the right place. It's the Domino's Pizza Overtime Podcast. I'm your host, Gino Reda. Today's guest, oh my gosh, we are in for a treat. We're going just outside of Prague, a two-time Stanley Cup champion, an Olympic gold medalist, the only goalie in NHL history to win the Hart Trophy as the league's MVP twice, a six-time Vezina winner. Some would argue, and we're going to have that discussion today, possibly the greatest goalie of all time. Hockey Hall of Famer, the Dominator, our buddy Dominik Hasek. Dom, you look fantastic. Welcome, my friend.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for introduction, and glad to be with you today. And hello to all the fans from the Czech Republic.
It's you know what, Dom, it's interesting that you and I are talking today because I was literally having this conversation with our guys at TSN, all of our hockey experts. We were voting on who should be the top four players of all time in the NHL. And there's a big debate there. And then we got to talking about who should be the greatest goalie of all time. And it came down to three guys, yourself, Marty Brodeur, and Patrick Roy. And I want to talk about that with you today. And I know that I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm ultimately going to put you on the spot of that. To me, one of the great moments, one of the great goalie showdowns happened at the 1998 Nagano Olympic Games, where Marty Brodeur, Patrick Roy were the top two goalies for Team Canada, and you were representing the Czech Republic, Czechoslovakia at that point. And it was one of the great showdowns of all time. And you guys went head-to-head in the semifinals, the winner to go on for the gold, the loser to go on to play for bronze. When you were going into that game, into that semifinal game, but we'll talk about that game in a minute. When you were going on to that game, how much did you say, this is a personal challenge for me to beat the goalie at the other end of the ice as well?
First, let me say, it is a few years ago, it's 26, 27, about 20, long time ago. And I still remember certain parts of the game, or at least a few saves, or some important parts when we scored the goal, or when Canada scored about 1 minute left. Anyway, if I am correct, and I really believe I am correct, it wasn't personal at that time. Maybe later on, some games were maybe more personal. But this game and the whole Olympics wasn't personal at all. It was only about representing the country where I was born, where I went to school, where I started to play hockey, from the childhood. So I was representing the country with other 22 guys, and we tried to do the best for our country. And of course, Canadians at that game, they were favorites. And we tried to do our best, and we've done, we were... I don't want to say we were lucky. We were a very good team, and we deserved to win on the end. But it wasn't personal. It wasn't personal against Patrick Roy or Martin Brodeur or against Wayne Gretzky or Eric Lindros. No, it was all about team, and on the end of the day, we were a lucky team.
What a game, though, it was, my friend. Like, as you said, Canada tied it in regulation very, very late. You guys go to a shootout, and that was a team, like you mentioned, Gretzky, Lindros, Sakic, Shanahan, Stevens, Pronger. This was a star-studded team. And now you're going into a shootout, and each side had 5 shooters that they had to put their names on the list. You stopped Theo Fleury, Ray Bourque, Joe Nieuwendyk, Eric Lindros, Brendan Shanahan. A noticeable missing name on that, and we're still talking about it now, almost 4 decades later. Wayne Gretzky never got to shoot on you in the shootout. He was never selected. Were you surprised by that?
Let's start with end of the game, and I think it was Trevor Linden, who tied the game about 65 seconds, 67 seconds left. And it was a lucky shot, I felt like I have the puck, just touched my great teammate Richard Schmelik's stick. It was deflected up high, and Canadians, they tied the game. And I was like, wow. But I really believe that we can win in the overtime. I really had that feeling that we can do it. it didn't happen. So we went to the shootouts, and I remember I was very tired. I don't think I was tired like physically, but mentally, on the end of the game, I was very tired. And I was sitting on the bench. I didn't even look at when our players were shooting. I didn't look at it because my friends, my teammates, they were standing in front of me. I didn't even try to get up and watch Reichel or Chinsky or Jagr to see them score the goal. You know, I was sitting on the bench, and I really didn't. I really didn't think who is going to shoot. I went to the ice and I was looking at the red line, and I've seen the player. I knew all of the players.
Yeah.
I knew all of them. I knew them from the highlights. I knew them from the games. So I knew them. You know, I didn't know what they are going to do, but I knew about their weaknesses, or what is the opposite of weakness?
The strengths.
Strength. The strengths. And so I a little bit anticipated before, you know, I was thinking, but I still remember one thing, what I said to myself I said, hold the stick strong on the ice and your shoulder must be up high. I don't know how to explain. So I didn't want anybody to shoot under my stick, just to shoot under my stick. Because if you hold the stick strong, you know what I mean?
Yep.
The puck shouldn't go under your stick. And to keep your shoulder up high, you make extra 1 or 2 inches, which you cover the net under the crossbar. So with your shoulders, with your arms. That's what I said to myself, like, you know, stay with your stick on the ice strong and keep your shoulders high. And about Wayne Gretzky, I know your question was about Wayne Gretzky. I've got this question many times, and I'm sure I got it right after the game and from Canadians, and I was sort of like surprised. You know, I really didn't think about it. I wasn't focused on it. I know Wayne was the biggest star. I know how great player he was, and there will be always debate, what if not. But be honest, Canadians, they were missing 2 great players. And I am 90% sure at least one of them, probably both of them would shoot. But Sakic and Karian, I think they got injured in the quarterfinals or during the preliminary rounds, and they were not dressed. So anyway, on the end of the day, it doesn't matter. We scored 1 goal, Canadians didn't score any goal, and we moved on to the finals.
And in the finals, talk about drama. You against the Russians, Czechoslovakia against the Russians, and you were not going to let in anything. You shut them out 1-0 again against a heavily favored team. You win the gold medal at the Olympics by knocking off Canada and then knocking off Russia. What was that like for you for that moment when you realized you had done that? You were at the top of the hockey world.
Yeah, I like your last sentence, and you were exactly right. We felt like on the top of the hockey world. Anyway, it didn't start with Canada. I remember we were lost Russian 2-1 in the preliminary rounds, and we knew right away we are facing USA. If we win, we face Canada. If we win, we probably face Russia. Actually, all of this happened, and we beat all of them, and it was for us, for the players, but also for the fans. It made even better feeling, you know, that we won the gold medal and we beat before the best 3 teams in the world. All these 3 were the most favorite teams. Of course, everybody was talking about Canada, maybe USA, or maybe Russia. And we beat all these teams, so it felt great. And in the finals, it was a little bit different game. I got this question many times, and most open game was against USA. It was up and down game. You know, I faced like 45 shots. Against Canadians, I don't remember exactly, but somewhere between 20 and 30. And I think against Russia, I faced only 20 shots. It was more defensive game. And in the beginning, it was like tie game. And then we just took over after like 25 minutes. We started to be better team. And I still remember Jaromir Jagr and I think somebody else. We hit twice the post. And I felt like, give me a break, It's a bad luck. And on the end of the day, Peter Svoboda hit a shot, hit the crossbar and went in. So we were, but I don't want to say we were lucky team. Of course you have to have a little bit luck, but we really were better teams. We played so hard. We play as a team, and we just, great coaching. There are many small things, and on the end, we were the winners. So, and to beat Russia 1-0, for me, it wasn't personal at all. I had great teammates. I played with great Russian teammates, so it wasn't personal for me. But for the Czech people, especially when we came back after season to the Czech Republic in summer, you could feel like the people in the Czech Republic, they felt it very personal, and they said, it was great, we were so happy when you beat Canada, but when you beat Russia, it was even sweeter. So for the Czech Republic, it really meant something, and it's a long time ago, but like my my uncle, he told me after a season, damn, like, you will never hide in the Czech Republic, because the whole nation will remember what you've done, and you will never ever hide. And actually, he was right.
Yeah, no, and you know what though, and rightfully so, Dom. I mean, I got to be on the ice with you when you were celebrating your Stanley Cup with the Red Wings, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But let's get back to the debate of the greatest goalie of all time. You won 6 Vezinas. You were the first, and this is the one that really impresses me. You were the first and only goalie in NHL history to win the Hart Trophy as the most valuable player in the league. No one wants to give that award to a goalie because everybody says the goalie's award is the Vezina. And we just couldn't give it to anybody else because you were not just the best goalie, you were the best player in the NHL. Twice, the players voted you the Ted Lindsay Award winner as the MVP in the league. Again, unheard of. This was every player in the NHL voting and saying Dominik Hasek is the best player in the game, not just the best goalie in the game, the best player in the game. I got to ask you, Dom. Dominik Hasek, Martin Brodeur, Patrick Roy. Who was the greatest goalie of all time?
So you want me to put myself there? No. I mean, let's talk about all three of us, and oof, I was very close to, I don't want to say very close, but closer to Martin Brodeur because we started in the NHL together. We played together for 18, 16 years, or I don't know how many, against each other, and completely different style. He had completely, I mean, I was much closer to Patrick Roy than to Martin Brodeur. I think Martin Brodeur was most talented. That's my feeling. He was strong, he was fast, he was quick. Of course, my butterfly was much better than his. So you want me? So I don't want to talk about myself. I never say, okay, let expert talk about me and put me on first, second, third, or whatever place. So I will talk only about Martin and Patrick, and both were great stick handlers. I know I was far behind them, and the reason is pretty clear. Until my age of 25, I never even tried to play with the stick. In Czech, it was the freeze the puck or just leave it for the defense. So I came to North America at the age of 25, and I started like, okay, I need to pass the puck. I need to shoot the puck. So I spent my first season in the minors just, spent lots of time, lots of minutes every day just shooting the puck and passing. Anyway, so they were much better stick handlers than me. Even I improved to a certain point. And okay, let's cut it short. Both were the great goalies. I would put very close to them also Eddie Belfour, at least when we talk about our prime time, 90s and beginning of 2000. And if I choose one, I feel a little bit bad for Patrick Roy, but I would put a little bit Martin Brodeur, a little bit ahead of him. Just I'm talking about our time in 90s and 2000. Patrick was a little bit in 80s probably, so but I didn't see him too much play in 80s. So anyway, if I have a choice, if I must have a choice, if I hate to do it, to be honest, but you push me so hard. I put a little bit tiny Martin Brodeur ahead of Patrick Roy.
Where do you go? Do you go ahead of Marty Brodeur, or do you go between Brodeur and Watt?
I don't know. No, no. I let expert to choose myself where they want to put me.
Fair enough. I got to ask you. You mentioned about your style. You're right. Dramatically different style than Marty Brodeur, and a significantly different style than Patrick Watt. Different style than we'd ever seen. Probably going back to the days of Terry Sawchuk. You know, like the Dominator flop. You had legs, gloves, arms, sticks, everything flopping on your back. To somebody just watching, it's like, come on, seriously? But you kept doing it over and over and over again. This was, like, you used the word luck a couple times. This was not luck for you. This was the way you trained, the way you learned. How did that become the Dominator style that made you one of the greatest of all time?
First of all, let me say, I never thought about it. I play my game. I never had a goalie coach, never until I came to Buffalo. Chicago, there was Vladi Treťák. He came twice a year, but for a few days. But really, my first goalie coach, I didn't never had any goalie coach until age of 27 in Buffalo. So my style, I developed on myself, just watching the other goalies, trying to do what they've done, and something worked for me, something didn't work for me. So maybe it was an advantage for me. And I tell you one story, and I said it many times. The best thing was that I couldn't speak English my first 2 years because I had no idea what American or Canadian experts say about me, what the coaches talk about me in the papers. I had no idea, and I just continue to play my game. If I know what Daryl Sutter, later on they show me what he said about me in the papers. I said, oh, I had no idea. I had no idea. I didn't read the papers because I didn't speak English. So I try to do the best, and I continue to do it, and I prove that it's not a bad style. Even I have to say, I later on I work with Mitch Korn and Jim Corsi, and I even improved my style without any doubt. So it was good to have goalie coaches in Buffalo and work on my improve what I've done not so good and get even better at what I've done very well. But like I say, maybe good for me was that I never had a goalie coach in my childhood, and I could develop my style on my own. And I always say what is good for one goalie doesn't need to be good for the other goalie. You know, if something was great for Dominik Hasek, didn't have to be great for Eddie Belfour or Patrick Roy or Martin Brodeur. And, you know, my biggest advantage, of course, I had more. I think if I think about it after my career, I think I was best in two things. My butterfly, you know, I was born with twisted knees, or I don't know how to say that, and I could reach farther than any other goalie in the butterfly. So I could reach very far. I could cover the lower part of the net on the rebounds or on the deflection better than any other goalie. So it was my big advantage. And I think I could, it's also, you have to be born with it, but also it's like you improve it with everyday practice. I could read a game, you know, I saw the ice. I saw the ice from what was going on behind me. I saw my teammates, you know, you need to know your teammates, your defense, what to expect from them. And you need to see every player, every move, how he holds a stick, what is his advantage, what is his weakness, and use it, you know. So I think I was I don't want to say I was the best, but my huge advantage was like the way I read the game. And and I don't know, I was competitor without doubt, but I believe the goalie needs to be competitor. The goalie needs to be the personality who never gives up, and that's the way I approach the game. So uh, like any player in the world, and I'm not talking only about the goalies. And we can talk about the biggest stars in the game. They were great in something, they were average in something, they had some weaknesses, but like I say, it's a full package, or how we sell it. And I
Yeah.
just repeat, I went on the ice, loved the game, and I tried to stop the puck and didn't think about what the people say about me. I just done the best for the team, and most of the time I did pretty well.
Get ready for the game with the Domino's $8.99 mix and match deal. Score big with any medium two-topping pizza and any two items like pastas, stuffed cheesy bread, boneless chicken, or classic chicken wings. Domino's has you covered. Order today from Canada's favorite pizza at domino's.ca. When I look back, obviously the Olympics were amazing. The individual awards were amazing. But at that point, you had yet to win a Stanley Cup. You asked for and you get traded to the Red Wings before the 01-02 season. You had a career high 41 wins that season. You won the Jennings. You helped lead the Red Wings to the President's Trophy. Now you're in the playoffs. You beat the Canucks, the Blues, the Avs. You faced the Canes. You had a career year in your first season with the Red Wings, which included a trip to the Stanley Cup final. Ultimately, you won with the Canes. You had 6 shutouts, Dom. I mean, it's crazy to win 16 games, but to have 6 shutouts on the way to the Stanley Cup, and now you get a chance to hoist your first Stanley Cup in your career, and you became the first European goaltender ever to win the Stanley Cup. What did that mean to you at that point?
Thank you. First of all, I didn't know I was the first European goalie to win the cup. Uh, it was I want to go back a little bit. It was 2001, and I had feeling, I had great time in Buffalo, great time, but I had feeling like, okay, within next year, 2, 3, I don't think there is a chance to win in Buffalo. So I was asking for trade, and probably not too many people knew about it, but after the season I asked for trade, and when Detroit came to my agent, I felt like, okay, it could be a great place for me. And it was, let's say. I never played so many great players, and I played with the best two defensemen I ever played with Chris Chelios and Nick Lidström, and I spent with them more season. And so these are years I will always remember. To play in Detroit, in Hockey Town, and in the old Joe Louis Arena. And of course, there was only one reason why I asked to be traded, and it was about winning the cup. No less, no more, just win the cup. And I think the whole team was coached of course, by Scotty Bowman. And this team was a little bit older, but very, very motivated. We were a high motivated team. And there was a few other players who never won the cup. There were some players who knew how to win the cup, especially our captain, Stevie Yzerman. And we didn't start very well. We lost first 2 games. But after that, we play well, and we beat, I don't remember who we beat exactly. St. Louis we beat, Vancouver, St. Louis, Colorado.
Yeah.
It was the best semifinals ever, maybe, one, at least for me. And in the finals, we beat Canes, and what a great feeling. Like I say, it was my dream before the season. I felt like my career wouldn't be complete if I don't win the cup. And for me, it was a little bit relief, without any doubt. I felt like, okay, I feel great. whatever you achieve, like individual trophies are nice, but if you don't win the cup, it's something is missing without any doubt. So I won in the Olympics for the Czech national team. So it was my dream. I achieved it. Fantastic for our country, for my country where I was born. And now I won with my great teammates, we won the Stanley Cup. And I really felt like my career is complete. And it was great relief. And I was feeling like you said before, on the top of the hockey wall.
You had some very special years. 1998, for obvious reasons, you won the Olympic gold medal, first time ever for your country. 2002, you won your first Stanley Cup with the Detroit Red Wings. You would win another one again in 08 at the tail end of your career. Another very special year for you was 1989. You were 24 years old. You're a kid playing in the Czech Professional League. You had been drafted, but you couldn't come to North America because before that you were part of the Soviet Union and you couldn't come over. You weren't able to come over. And I know this is very important to you, and it means an awful lot for you. The whole political background that what you had to battle through politically to accomplish what you ultimately did in the NHL. What was that like for you as a young 24-year-old to finally feel and have the freedom to go and play wherever you wanted to play?
Okay. It's a little bit complicated question. Okay, I will try to answer it briefly, but the right way. One thing I have to mention, you talk about I was drafted. And I tell you the story, and I said this story many times. I don't know if Canadians know this story. I was drafted in 1983. I was 18-year-old boy. So I want to tell you, I had no idea what it means to be drafted. And when a friend of mine, he told me, Frankie Musil, by the way, Frankie Musil, he played for Minnesota, Edmonton, I think Ottawa, at least 11, 12, 13 years in the NHL, at least. So we were in the France with the hockey team, and he found Hockey News, the magazine. So I don't speak English one word. I could speak Russian and German. He could speak Russian and English. So he could read it. And he told me at the newsstand like, damn, you were drafted. And I didn't know what he's talking about. And he said, no, he told me first. No, first he told me, damn, I was drafted. I'm like, I go to Minnesota. And I didn't even care. And then and after like 2 minutes, he said, damn, you were drafted also. And I had no idea what he's talking about. Didn't even, like we say in Czech, like it goes through this year and goes the other year. I didn't pay attention. I didn't even care. So I just want to explain to you the 18 years old boy who loves hockey, how much attention he paid to the NHL. This is the way it was.
Yeah.
I was going to school. I was still in the high school. I loved hockey. I loved my teammates. I played professional. I made about $100 a month, which was enough. But I didn't care. I love to play hockey. I love my teammates and have fun. So anyway, we go back to 1983 when I was drafted. So this is the true story. But of course, later on, I started to think about, and the agents were coming and explaining to me what does it mean to be in the NHL, talking about money, talking about possibility to play there and what is it like. And I started to think about it. Of course, I became 19, 20, 21. And I really thought about it. And in 1989, after Velvet Revolution, or when the Berlin Wall fell down, everything changed. And I don't want to go to the politics right now. Because it's a little bit complicated. It's not a complicated issue, but for me, it's difficult to explain because my whole life I was talking with media about hockey. So for me to talk English about politics is more difficult. Anyway, 1989, everything changed, the situation, and the world for us was open. We could go anywhere we wanted. We could go back and forth, because if somebody was emigrated, I think is the right word, he could never go back. So this was the biggest problem before. I could go to United States with a team and stay there, but my parents would be punished, they would lose the job, my brother would be kicked out of school, and my sister, and I would never ever go back to the Czech Republic. So we would be separated maybe for the rest of our lives. So this was a difficult situation. After revolution, 1989, everything changed and the world was open for us. And when I got this chance, I said like, yes, I want to try to play in the NHL and to play in the best league. And of course, it was also about money, without any doubt. Like it was both. You want to play in the best league and you want to make great money. So I made this decision, and it wasn't easy for me in the beginning, but on the day, it was the best days of my lives. And actually, I don't want to say it was only best days of my lives, but it was great fun to be part of the NHL for the next 18 years.
Awesome. I'll ask you this question. You can just answer it as you feel comfortable. You've been pretty vocal, pretty, public about your feelings about Alexander Ovechkin's chase for Wayne Gretzky and for being named the greatest goal scorer of all time. To the extent you feel comfortable, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about how that's all unfolding with what's going on in Russia and international, what's going on with Ovi, to the point you feel comfortable?
Yeah, it's a very sad situation, and I love to talk about it, but I repeat it so everybody who is listening, it's important. Like for me to express myself in English, sometimes I say something, not exactly what I want to say. Anyway, I will talk about it. Just whoever listens to me, I want a little bit apologize that I cannot express myself very well in English. But it's important to know who is aggressor, first of all. And not unfortunately, we have to say Russians are aggressor in Ukraine. And we are afraid in Europe. Ukraine is defending their country, but also that they're defending my country, my family. There are 100,000 people who die. There are 100,000 of people who are maimed, injured. And so I am very thankful, and I have to say many thanks, not enough thanks to say to Ukraine. They defending Europe, they defending my country. Unfortunately, Russians are aggressors, and Russians are the state who are killing other people because they want to get their territory. So this is number one. We have to understand this situation. And I never said one thing. I never ever said that Russian players are responsible for this. I don't know. I don't know if there is about 60 guys in the NHL, and I don't know if these Russian players, they cheer for their country, if they like their country, kill the people in Ukraine, if they want to get their territory, or if they are against it, if they want to condemn the war. So I don't know. So I don't blame one single player in the NHL. I don't like what I see Alexander Ovechkin on his Facebook. I didn't like that he supported Putin a few years ago after Russian took Crimea. I don't know his situation right now, but I don't blame Russian players. But we need to understand that Russian players are Russian citizens. So anytime, and every citizen, I am representing country of the Czech Republic, you're representing country of Canada, you Canadian, yeah? So anytime you are publicly, you talk publicly or you perform publicly, you are a great representative of your country. I am talking to you, now I represent my country also. So anytime a Russian citizen steps on the ice, unfortunately, they representing their country, They are representing what their country is doing. They are representing the crimes. So, and now I go to the end. Unfortunately, NHL, because they are letting these Russian players to go step on the ice and play, NHL today, unfortunately, represents, or I can say they advertise, or I can say it different way, the Russian crimes, the Russian war. And I offered Mr. Batman, I'm offering the help. I want every Russian player should get a chance officially condemn the war. If they condemn the war, they could go back on the ice. They should be allowed to play in the NHL, and they should be the greatest ambassadors of the peace. Unfortunately, today, I say unfortunately, and I want to explain to you, I love the NHL. I want to do the best for the NHL. NHL is in my heart, but right now, I have to say it again. What NHL is doing, because they let Russian citizens to go on the ice and perform publicly, it means NHL today represents Russian sins, Russian crimes, and it's terrible. So one more time, I am not blaming Russian players. I'm blaming Mr. Batman. I'm blaming all 30 or 31 owners of the NHL. This is wrong attitude. Anytime, call me, please. I'll go to Toronto or to New York. I explain to you personally. I want to help Russian players. I want to help the NHL. But right now, what they've done, it's wrong. It's completely wrong.
You're a very passionate man, Dom, and given your background with the former Soviet Union, I certainly understand how and why you would feel so passionate. I can't tell you how much we've appreciated your time. It's been amazing to catch up with you. I know you just became a father again last few days ago. Was it a little girl? How many children?
6 days. 6 days. A beautiful girl. Her name is Tereska. Yeah.
That's fantastic. I can't tell you how great it's been chatting with you, buddy. And I will tell you that you get my vote as the greatest goalie of all time. We've had this debate many, many times. Before I let you go, Dom, we do something we call 5 Fast Facts. I ask you 5 questions, and you tell me the first 5 things that come to your mind. Okay?
Okay, I'll try my best. Okay.
All right. Time now. 5 Fast Facts with 2-time Stanley Cup champion and goaltending legend, Dominik Hasek. Dominik, who was the best teammate that you ever played with?
Chris Chelios, Niklic.
Fair enough. Who was the best coach you ever played for?
Yeah, I have to go with Scotty.
All right. Who did you hate playing against the most and why?
Jaromir Jagr with Mario Lemieux. These 2 guys, when they were on the ice, wow.
After all the success you had, Dom, on the ice and off the ice, if you could go back and tell yourself something as a young man, that you could say something to Dominik Hasek when you were still 15 years old, what advice would you have given yourself?
One more time, I didn't catch. One more time.
If you could go back in time and talk to yourself as a young man, what do you wish you had said to yourself as a young man in terms of advice?
About my game, I would say try to read better the game. Think about even more about the small things, because I believe the small things they make the biggest difference. So I really believe I could be better goalie even in ADs if I done certain things different way. So think about what you're doing on the ice and off the ice. Small things could be the biggest difference.
One final question for you, my friend. If you hadn't become a professional hockey player, what career do you think you would have had instead?
I wish to be the soccer player. Anyway, if not, I went to school, to high school, to college, to university, and I could be the history teacher. I did a degree from history. So if I never play hockey, I probably would be the history teacher.
Awesome. 5 Fast Facts with the only goalie in NHL history to win the Hart twice, Hockey Hall of Famer Dominik Hasek. Dom, thank you so much for this, buddy. I really, really appreciate it. You look healthy. You look happy with your new little girl. Your family is expanding. Thank you so much, my friend.
Guys, thank you also, and hope I see you soon sometimes.
Two-time Stanley Cup champion and Olympic gold medalist Dominik Hasek. Man, a legend. The Overtime Podcast is proudly presented by Domino's Pizza and Athletes Care. If you're watching the big game at home or hungry right now, Domino's has you covered. Check out the Domino's Mix and Match deal. Medium, two-topping pizzas, pastas, stuffed cheesy bread, boneless chicken, or classic chicken wings. Any two items for only $8.99 each. Canada's favorite pizza at Domino's.ca. Athletes Care is proud to be celebrating their 26th year offering sports medicine services to both elite athletes and the general population who require rehab for a new or chronic injury or pain. Go to where the best go. Athletes Care Sports Medicine Clinics with 26 locations in the Greater Toronto Area and in Ottawa. Hey, if you missed any parts of the show, don't worry. Visit our website at overtimepodcast.ca. The Domino's Pizza Overtime Podcast can be found on Spotify, iTunes Podcasts, or any of your favorite podcast platforms. As well, please subscribe to our YouTube channel at O-Time Podcast. Until next week, I'm Gino Reda saying so long, hockey fans, and thanks for joining us on the Domino's Overtime Podcast.